If your acoustic guitar either sounds harsh or quacky or it just completely disappears in the mix, then you are not alone. Acoustic guitar is one of the hardest things to get right in worship. But with the right EQ, the compression, you can totally transform it. So let's fix it together. So before we touch a single knob, let's start here. You cannot fix a bad source. We say it over and over again, not with any amount of EQ or compression. If the strings are old, and if the pickups are junk, and if a player is strumming like a dang maniac with a flimsy pick, the sound will fight you all day. So first things first, we gotta get fresh strings on that and make sure that we have a solid DI box, something like a Radial or a Countryman, and ideally a medium to heavy pick. Once that's all sorted, now we mix. So we're here at the console, let's go ahead and get it dialed in. Here's how I EQ acoustic guitar 90% of the time. Number one, I'm gonna start with the high pass filter. So we'll bring up our acoustic here, and I'm just going to go ahead and set this to around 120 as a starting point. So there's no high pass filter, high pass filter. So we've already cleaned up a lot of the mud. And if the acoustic guitarist is really playing low on the neck, I may take this up even more, just to keep it out of the way of the bass and the kick, because those instruments are really occupying our low end frequency and they do a good job of it. We don't need the acoustic guitar for the low end frequency. So step number two is to cut the mud. This is usually gonna be about 300 hertz. So we can go 280 here and cut that down. Great. Now let's take out a little bit of the boxiness. Try 500-600. And this guitar already has a lot of presence, so I don't need to boost much in the high end, but just to give that little extra sparkle to cut through the mix, I may even do like a high shelf here. Do it around, say 6K. Maybe adjust some of that boxiness a little bit. And the tone of our acoustic guitar is really shaping up nicely. So we got that high pass filter to take out any of that woofiness, about 250 to clean up some of that low mid rumble, and then about 600, about 560 to clean up that boxiness, and then that high end shelf to give it that sparkle to cut through the mix. All right, so our EQ got our tone in shape. Compression keeps that signal consistent and sitting in the mix well. So let's go ahead and pop into our compressor here. For settings on acoustic guitar, typically I'm gonna do about a 4:1 ratio just as a good starting place. And so we can go ahead and get that preset. And then let's start at about 10 milliseconds of attack. Pop this release down just below 200. Let's put that in and then start bringing our threshold down so we get about 3 to 6 dB of gain reduction. All right, so we got our compression dialed in really well. With this compressor, our goal is to take those loud moments and those quiet moments and to bring them together. Those small imperfections as humans that we have playing acoustic guitar, we're never gonna get each strum perfect every time. So this compressor just helps to level out that signal. And especially whenever we have a bunch of instruments in a mix and we're trying to get it to sit well, having compression does just that for us. So let's talk about troubleshooting a few problems you may be running into. If you're struggling with harsh tone or quack, you can cut that 2 to 4K. If you're dealing with like a piezo edge, 3K is usually the culprit there. If it's muddy or just undefined, you can try to roll up your high pass filter a little bit more. Also, cutting some of that low mids like 250 will help with that same problem as well. If it's getting buried, you wanna take some of that high end, maybe that high shelf that we added, and boost that a little bit more so that it cuts through the mix a little bit more. If you're struggling with feedback, try to roll off a little bit more of that low end, sometimes that's the culprit, and search for those problem frequencies and notch them out in your EQ as well. If you're utilizing wedges, make sure those are angled away from your guitar. And remember that mixing acoustic is not about making it sound perfect by itself, it's about where it fits in as the band. So you can ask yourself a few of these questions like, what is the acoustic doing in the song? Like, is it adding rhythm? Then maybe I'll just compress it a little bit more and take out some of the lows and tuck it in between some of the electric guitars and the pads. If it's carrying a song, I think about a song like Firm Foundation, where it starts with a really acoustic heavy intro. Maybe I'll add some of those lows back in to help with the body of the song and carry the song forward. And then as the song progresses, maybe roll that high pass filter back up and add some more compression in. If it's clashing with the vocal, maybe scoop out some of that 2 to 3K and free up some space for that lead to come in. And that's why EQing in context matters so much, because you could get it sounding great in solo, but until you get it into the band, you have no idea where it's actually sitting. So remember, the solo button is a lie, mix in the full picture. So let's land the plane. Number one is start with the source. Make sure that you're getting a good source into your console. Then high pass all that junk out, clean up the mids, add some sparkle at the high end, and compress it to even your signal out. At the end of the day, you want it to fit into the band, not overpowering everything. Well, if you want to go deeper, we've got an entire course inside of MxU called The Complete Guide to Mixing Acoustic Guitar. And it's got a ton of real world examples, EQ and compression walkthroughs, and exactly how to approach acoustic in a worship mix. So if this video helped you, go check that out because it's got a ton more in depth on this subject matter. And if you've got questions or maybe something that you want help troubleshooting, drop a comment below. Don't forget to also like this video and subscribe to keep up with all the new content we're pushing out. We will see you guys next time.